Hello, today we're going to look at the spoilers from Zendikar Rising that we've seen on September 1st. We'll likely see some more today on September 2nd when you're watching this video, so I will make a new video covering every new thing we see. That's the plan here. Alright, so here we are. We're going to start with the basic lands. We got some nice full art lands coming with this set. Pretty happy with these. Gotta love full art lands. Of course, the art is just beautiful, as would be expected. Well, I like this island. Alright, and now we get to some actual cards. So we're going to go through these step by step and talk about them a little bit. We have a Spell Shield, a 1 mana instant with a kicker for 1. It gives your creature 3 more toughness. And if it was kicked, it gives it hexproof. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice little creature saver right there. Not too bad. Probably not going to see a whole lot of play in Constructed, but nice little tricky spell. We have a Valakut Stoneforge. This must be a new mechanic. It has something on the back where you can flip it, it appears. So it looks like it can be just a source of red mana, but it comes into play tapped, and it has a 3 casting cost instant, which appears to be Valakut Awakening. Put any number of cards from your hand onto the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards plus 1. That's not too bad. That allows you to sift out bad cards out of your hand or be a land drop. And it replaces itself with this cost. And being instant's not too bad either. Decent card. It's a rare. Alright, we have Murasa Rootgrazer. 2 mana, 2/3 Vigilance. You can tap it to put a basic land from your hand onto the battlefield, or you can tap it to return a basic land you control to its owner's hand. Pretty interesting creature. I like it. We have Ruin Crab, a 1 mana 0/3 crab, and it has a landfall of milling your opponent 3 cards. Each opponent mills 3 cards whenever you landfall. Pretty interesting. We've got Blood Chief's Thirst, a 1 black sorcery, or you can kick it for 3 extra. Destroys a creature or a planeswalker with converted mana cost 2 or less. If it was kicked, it ignores the converted mana cost and just destroys anything. Fortunately, what makes this bad is that it's a sorcery, but being able to kill anything, creature or planeswalker, is a pretty nice thing to have on a spell. Definitely going to be very nice and sealed, but probably won't see much play in Constructed. Lotus Cobra gets a reprint. Landfall of adding a mana of any color. 2/1 snake for 2. Like the art on that full art one. And we got a mythic here, Omnath, Locust of Creation. Costs 4 mana, everything but black. When Omnath, Locust of Creation enters the battlefield, draw a card. Oh, this is going to be a beautiful flicker target then. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life. This was the first time it has resolved this turn. Also add 4 mana, same as its casting cost. If it's the 3rd time, Omnath deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. That's pretty big. So if you're making a deck that has a bunch of search up land, you could really devastate your opponents with this. Omnath is definitely going to make for some interesting deck building possibilities. Be interesting to see how he plays out. We have a common Shepherd of Heroes, 5 mana 3/4 flying. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life for each creature in your party. Okay, this is a new thing. Your party consists of up to 1 cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard. Objectively a pretty bad card. Like, life gain's often not that significant, and it looks like it has a pretty high casting cost for the power toughness. However, it might see some play in sealed, where flying and 3/4 flyings in general are pretty handy. An interesting card, it is an angel cleric. So it's interesting they're bringing some D&D elements here. Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, Wizard just reminds me of D&D. Notice that it itself is a cleric, so it's going to gain you at least 2 life. But life gain, as you might know, is not a very significant factor in Magic the Gathering in general, as it basically means nothing unless you have 0. 0 you lose, any other amount you're fine. I don't need to explain that, but it's rarely comes into play as something that makes or breaks a card unless it is a huge amount or does something specifically awesome other than the life gain. So it's not enough to warrant the high casting cost, in my opinion. Okay, here we have a human rogue, Acquisitions Expert. It's a squire, a 2-mana 1/2. And when it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals the number of cards from their hand equal to the number of creatures in your party. We just went over what party was: cleric, rogue, wizards. This is going to be at least 1 since it's a rogue. You choose any of those cards, that player discards that card. So it's at least going to make them discard 1. You might be able to get look at least 4 of their cards. Not too bad. I don't know if he'll see much play. Well, he might, actually. It's notably better than Burglar Rat, like directly better than Burglar Rat. So, yeah, he'll see some play. I think he will. Pretty cool. Alright, let's keep going here. Tazir, Beacon of Unity. Oh, this is another mythic. He's a 5-drop, or she's a 5-drop, I should say. 4/6. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. So this could be a 1-drop. That's pretty interesting. It looks like we have a mana cost. It'll cost 4, or you can substitute. It's got that substitute cost. I don't want to get into the rules of that, but basically you have the option to play those costs for the 2 generic. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. We're going to reveal up to 2 cleric, rogue, warrior, wizard, or ally cards and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in any order. Into your hand, up to 2. Ally, that's interesting. The ally is mentioned there as well. We haven't seen allies in a while. Alright, next we have Spoils of Adventure, a 6 casting cost gold adventure, instant, blue and white. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. Okay, so it could go down to just 2. You gain 3 life and draw 3 cards, which would be really nice for 2 mana. Even not bad for 3 mana. Maybe even not bad for 4 mana as an instant. But 6 mana is a bit steep. Late game, it's still going to be good anyway, since you can wait to the end of your opponent's turn and play it right before your turn and essentially have 4 new cards with the draw on your turn and a untapped mana base. So I like this card. I really like this card. I think it's going to see some play. And we have Linvala, Shield of Seagate. It's a 3 mana angel wizard. It's a 3/3 flying. Already, just with that, it's good. Let's see what it does. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have a full party, I assume that means 1 of each, just all 4. If you have a full party, and she's one of them, she's the wizard. Choose target non-land permanent an opponent controls. Until your next turn, it can't attack, block, or use its activated abilities. You can sacrifice Linvala to choose hexproof or indestructible and give all your creatures that ability until the end of turn. So she can save your party by sacking herself. That's pretty interesting. I think Linvala is going to see some play for sure. Seems like a pretty strong card. Murkwater Pathway. And it looks like this one does not come into play tapped. So, okay. Well, this is interesting. Looks like it's a land of either sort. You can play it on either side. You can play it as a source of black mana. Or it looks like its other side, you can play it as a source of blue mana. That is pretty interesting. That gives you a dual land, except you have to choose when you put it into play, which is a very interesting mechanic. Alright, we have Grim Climb Pathway, which looks like it's the black-white version of that, or Bright Climb Pathway. So these pathways look like they're going to be the new dual lands. They don't come into play tapped. They are rare. Let's see, I want to go back to this red one real quick. The Valakut Stoneforge. Now this is a whole different animal entirely, not a dual land. So maybe we'll see a lot more of these type of lands. I personally don't like these because, well, while they're going to be nice in arena and playing on a client where the flipping is handled, through software, playing these in real life is a pain in the sack. And I say that because everyone plays with a sleeve deck. That means you're going to need to pull it out of the sleeve, turn it around, and you're just going to do that a lot, which means these cards are inevitably going to get dinged up unless you have some sort of system where they're double sleeved. Just the whole sleeving, unsleeving, pulling cards out of sleeve and flipping them during actual play is something that really, really bothers me. I wish there was a good solution to it. The only solution I could really come up with is you play a proxy and you have this card off to the side in a sleeve that is clear on both sides, and then when you play it, you take that card from the side. While I like what it does play-wise, I just hate the flipping thing in real life. But nonetheless, a cool idea, and I'm sure people will play them a lot. All right, next we have Aura, Skyclave Hierophant. For 4 mana, black, white, and 2 generic, we get a Core Cleric. Member of your party, legendary Core Cleric, a 3/3 lifelink. Whoever or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric with lesser mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh, that's pretty cool. So that's going to give you some options there for flipping your clerics around and stuff. Don't know if it'll see a lot of play, but decent card nonetheless. And here we have another pathway, River Glide and Lava Glide. So this is probably going to be the popular one. The red-blue ones are always super cool. I like that they come in 2 formats, the full art format or the normal. Notice that these are not islands and mountains though. They are not basic land types, which is significant. You can't search them out. They don't count for, yeah, Alright, Cliffhaven Sellsword. We got a 3/1 for 2 mana, just a basic core warrior. Farsight Adept, a 3 mana 3/3 core wizard. When Farsight Adept enters the battlefield, you and target opponent each draw a card. I actually really like this, mostly for, in the thought of commander play with multiplayer. You can often make an ally by saying, hey, why don't you draw a card? And your opponent is suddenly somewhat of your ally. So I really like this card, and it being common is cool. But as far as people actually playing it in standard, I don't think that's going to happen in constructed, really. You just don't want to be giving your opponent free cards. Although getting to draw a card is nice. I don't know. We'll see, though. We'll see. There might be some way it becomes useful. Sometimes your opponent drawing extra cards could be a drawback for them, but I don't think there's anything like that in the standard. Alright, here we have the white and green pathway, Boulder Loft, Branch Loft. Pretty cool. Are we going to see 10 of these? We're going to see every color combination? That's what I wonder. It seems like we will, given that these are allied colors. These are enemy colors. These are enemy colors. We got more allies. So we're seeing ally and enemy colors. I'm guessing we're going to see 10 of these pathways. Just every color combination in there. Alright, we got Merfolk Wind Robber. And wait, is it 10 or is it more than 10? I don't know, don't quote me on that. Merfolk Wind Robber. 1 blue mana for a 1/1. And I'm seeing Merfolk Rogue and all sorts of abilities here. Let's get into it. It's a 1/1 flying for 1. Already pretty decent right off for a Merfolk. When Merfolk Wind Robber deals damage to a player, that player mills a card. Now that, in general, that is a drawback. You're giving your opponent free utility of stuff in their graveyard, which they can take advantage of. So, I mean, while it could be fine, I generally see milling your opponent as a thing that's going to help your opponent. Okay, sacrifice Merfolk Wind Robber, draw a card. Activate this ability only if there are 8 or more cards in your graveyard. So I guess if you're trying to get a certain number of cards in your opponent's graveyard for other abilities too. It could be an advantage, but this card is iffy in my opinion. I guess you'd really have to have the right deck for it, and hopefully your opponent isn't taking advantage of escape and stuff like that. Or maybe you have, I don't know. Let's move on. Zareth Sand, the Trickster. We've got a 5 mana Simic 4/4 Merfolk Rogue with Flash. Alright, interesting already. Let's see what Zareth Sand does. For 4 mana, you can return an unblocked rogue you control to its owner's hand and put Zareth Sand, the Trickster, from your hand onto the battlefield tapped in and attacking. Okay, so you can really just sneak him in there for 4 mana as long as you got another rogue, and he'll be unblocked because it's already past the blocking phase, of course. When Zareth Sand deals combat damage to a player, you may put target permanent card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Now that is big. You could grab Ugin or some monstrous creature or something that you milled. So we're seeing some combo potential already with this one robber and other mill things. Zareth Sand is pretty cool, I have to say. I'm not sure if the flash will matter a whole lot. I guess at the end of your opponent's turn, if they don't have any blockers available, you could flash Zareth Sand in and just start taking advantage of this right away. And bouncing a rogue is not necessarily a bad thing. If combined with, I don't know, say this acquisitions expert, you could put this rogue back in your hand and get another discard effect. So we're seeing some high potential for rogues, and there's already a few good rogues in the format. Curious to see if there's going to be any top tier rogue-esque decks. Guess we'll see. Alright, now we're getting to another mythic. Oh, a new Nissa. A black and green Nissa. Alright, 4 mana legendary planeswalker starts with 4 loyalty. She has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Nissa. Oh my, that's already OP. Hopefully her abilities don't make her absolutely broken, but let's see. For a +1, you can make one of your lands. You can untap a land and make it a 3/3 elemental with haste and menace until the end of turn. Okay, so it does change back, but at least you can swing with it, potentially unblockable with that menace. So she has a way of plussing up and getting some damage in. Note that this is going to be useless if your opponent has 2 large creatures and you just raffle stomp your 3/3 elemental land and make you lose land. But if you're playing some sort of control or have a lot of removal, it's going to be a nice way to get damage in. And her -5, which is going to be super easy to activate since she has a +1 you can just always use and just, not attack with it. Just an easy +1. And loyalty from landfall. Alright, so her -5. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control onto the battlefield from your hand or graveyard. 2 +1/+1 counters on it. That is huge. You know how I love Reanimator if you've watched this channel at all. I'm seeing some big potential for a Nissa Reanimator right here. It's going to be easy to get this -5, and black and green tend to have a decent amount of removal between them. Green with all the fight stuff. Black just has a lot of removal in general. And wow, you can just get a creature from your hand or graveyard. I'm really trying to get this to sink in. Hand or graveyard. So you can be holding a big guy and drop him. And with things like Cultivate in the format, it's going to be no trouble proccing this landfall and getting tons of lands. Or any creature. It's basically going to be any creature. It does have to be your graveyard. Doesn't say, well, I guess it's combined, your hand or graveyard. It doesn't say any graveyard, so it is only your graveyard. But still, nonetheless, this Nissa of Shadowed Foes is very, very good right off. Wow. Okay. Well, I think we found one of the bombs in the set. Let's move on. Spitfire Lagak, a 4 mana 3/4 Blizzard. With landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, Spitfire Lagak deals 1 damage to each opponent. Nothing super special here, but it's just a common. Might see a little bit of play, but it's kind of expensive for its power toughness, so probably not. Probably only in sealed. Gnarlid Colony. We got a Grizzly Bear power toughness, 2 mana 2/2, but it does have kicker for an additional 3, so it can become a 5-drop. And with that kicker, it comes into play with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So it's essentially a 4/4 for 5 with the kicker, or a nice early creature. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. Some decent versatility for a common, but probably not something you're going to see a whole lot in constructed. Sometimes that trample is helpful, but again, to give anything trample, it does have to have that +1/+1. Might of Marasa. We got a 2 mana instant that gives a creature +3/+3 until the end of the turn. Essentially a more expensive giant growth, but it does have the option of kicker for an additional 3, so it would be a 5 mana. And if the spell is kicked, the creature gets +5/+5. Not terribly good. Probably going to be a toss card for the most part. A nice trick in sealed, but in constructed, this is far outclassed by other cards. Then again, it is just a common. And look at that picture. That's a nice picture. I like that. All right, let's move on. We got Grotog, the Bug Catcher, a Squire red, 2 mana for a 1/2, Goblin Warrior with Trample. Whenever a Grotog, a Bug Catcher, attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each creature in your party, and it itself is a warrior, so it's going to be at least a 2/2 trample, and it could be up to a 5/2 trample. And it is common, not bad for a common. We'll be curious to see if anyone takes advantage of this. Usually red aggro wants something a little better. I mean, we do have some really strong 2/2s for 2 already or better. So probably not going to see a whole lot of play unless someone's trying to take advantage of this party mechanic. If this guy had haste, it would be a whole different story. It's really unfortunate that this card doesn't have haste. However, it is only a common slot, so you can only expect so much. Interesting card nonetheless. Expedition Diviner. We got a 4 mana blue Merfolk Wizard. It is a 3/2 flying. Pretty expensive price point already on the power toughness, even with flying, but this is outclassed. However, it is a wizard, so that's got that going for it. And a flying merfolk. As long as you control another wizard, Expedition Diviner has, when this creature dies, draw a card. Nothing super special, but only a common. However, drawing a card is always nice, especially in sealed. I can see this being played a lot in sealed and draft. Alright, here we have another pathway land, and this one is white. Red, Pillar Verge Pathway or Needle Verge Pathway. And we have Azulaport Duelist. It's a 1 mana 1/1 human rogue with flash. Alright. When it comes into play, it gives another target creature -2 power until the end of turn, and its controller mills 2 cards. It looks like you could mill yourself with this if you want. You give one of your creatures the -2, or you can mill your opponent and also maybe win a trade. Not bad for a common and also a human rogue. Does help fill out your party. Here we have Tajura Paragon. A nice green elf. It's a rare card. A 2 mana 3/2. Tarragon, however you say it, I'm just going to say, well, it's Tajuru. Tajuru Paragon is a cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard. So wait, does this fully fill out your party? I wonder why they didn't just put all that on this creature type. Is it too long? Well, it is. I guess it fills out your party. I'm not sure if it only counts as one or if it counts as all 4 as far as your party. I think it fills out your party. Alright, well this Paragon also has a kicker of 3. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. Put a card that shares a creature type with it from among them into your hand. The rest on the bottom in any order, random order. Alright, well it's going to get you a cleric, rogue, or warrior, or wizard, and also counts as all of them. Yeah, I think if anyone's going to be playing the party deck, we'll definitely see some of this card being played. And a 3/2 for 2 is not too bad. In late game, you can play it for a total of 5 mana to get another card. Not too bad. Not too bad of a rare. Not like super amazing game breaking, but decent utility card. Next we have Kabira Outrider, a 4 mana 3/3. Whenever Kabira Outrider enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn for each creature in your party. Well, it is a warrior. Not super special, really. It does boost something, but you got to do it basically main phase before you attack, so your opponent's going to be aware of it. Only so much you can expect from a common. Yeah, just a common. Yeah, decent and sealed. Coveted Prize, a 5 mana black sorcery. And it is a rare. Costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your party. So this could go down to just 1 black mana. That's pretty cool. Let's see what it does. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. If you have a full party, you may cast a spell with converted mana cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its casting cost, or its mana cost. If you have a full party, you may cast a spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. Wow. So basically we're seeing another tutor. And this gets anything, you don't have to reveal it. It literally grabs anything from your deck like the old Demonic Tutor. And this could be cheaper than Demonic Tutor, and it allows you to get a free cast. Coveted Prize is probably going to be a big card in those party decks, or I'm seeing some potential here. However, it could be bad. If you're paying 5 mana for this, or for even 4 mana, it's not the greatest, but it's still not bad. Yeah, I think this card is going to see some play. Timber Crown Pathway and Crag Crown Pathway. It's the red-green land. Okay, and then we have Drana, the Last Blood Chief, Vampire Cleric. This is a mythic. It's a 5 mana, 4/4 flying Vampire Cleric. And whenever Drana attacks, the defending player chooses a non-legendary creature in your graveyard. Return it to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. It is now a vampire in addition to its other types. That's pretty cool. So this is on attack. It doesn't have to deal damage. Just anytime this attacks, you're going to get something back from your graveyard. Your opponent gets to choose, but it doesn't necessarily matter unless you have only legends. So pretty decent card. Curious to see if it'll see play at all. It is a bit expensive for the 4/4 flying, but a really nice effect. And if you've only got like one giant creature in there that's not legendary, they're going to have to pick it. So I might try this card out. I'm curious to see if Drana will be playable. Gets way better with haste, but there's only so many ways to give haste right now. Yeah, just one last thing on Drana. With haste, this becomes a 5 mana instant return something from your graveyard with a +1/+1 counter on it. Well, it's not instant as literally an instant, but happens in the same turn. And you get a 4/4 flying to boot. So if you can give her haste, I think this card is got some real potential in Reanimator. I'm going to be trying to build Reanimator, so stay tuned for that. Confounding Conundrum, a blue enchantment for 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So just based off of that, people are going to play the crap out of this. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, the player had another land enter the battlefield under their control this turn. They return a land they control to its owner's hand. Okay, so this essentially stops people from playing multi-lands in a turn, because they now have to bounce a land. Confounding Conundrum. This could work against you slightly in some cases, but in general, it's going to be a sideboard card probably. Probably one of the worst rares in the sets, we're going to find out, but it's going to be one of those cards that if you get one pack, you're going to be sad to be opening. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I'm not a big fan of this card off the bat, although it does get you a card. Free draw is always nice. Wind Rider Wizard. We've got an uncommon 3 mana, 2/2 flying. Human Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or wizard spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Tajuru Blightblade. I hope I'm saying that right. A 1/1 Death Touch green elf rogue. Cool. I like it already. Love the Death Touch. Cleric of Life's Bond. We have a black and white vampire cleric, a 2 mana 2/2. Whenever another cleric enters the battlefield under your control, gain a life. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Cleric of Life's Bond. Not too shabby there. Legion Angel, a 4 mana white angel warrior. Oh, rare slot. 4/3 flying for 4 mana. Not too bad. Let's see what it does. When Legion Angel enters the battlefield, you may reveal a card you own named Legion Angel from outside the game. Put it into your hand. Okay, so apparently people are going to probably play one of these and load up your sideboard with Legion Angels, and you play one and you can play the next one next turn, grab the other. Essentially a way to keep playing them every turn. Not bad. Not bad. Sort of like drawing a card, except the draw is definitely another Legion Angel. If you have the setup with your sideboard. Interesting card. I like Legion Angel. We'll see if it sees any play. And it's also a nice way for white to not run out of cards. One of the problems white seems to have is lack of card draw, so this is just a way to keep ammo going. So I think Legion Angel will see some play, especially in control, potentially. Alright, we got Palaka Caverns. Okay, it's a source of black mana. Land enters the battlefield tapped, but also it can be a 3 mana sorcery that is Palaka Predation. And this does, let's see, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a card from it with converted mana cost 3 or greater. That opponent discards it. Well, it might be played. These are going to be cool because, you know, if you're flooding, at least you got the other ability. But this mana cost 3 or greater could hurt because you could just get nothing. So you're going to have some idea of what your opponent's playing before you want to ever cast this. Yeah, not a big fan of this one. Could come in handy though. Maybe it'll come in. Yeah. Just against those aggro decks, they rarely have anything with 3 or greater. Or I guess, you know. Let's move on. Tajuru Snarecaster, 3 mana, 1/4 reach. Pretty straightforward elf rogue there. Amara Captain, a 4 mana, 1/1 flying vigilance angel warrior. Okay, flying vigilance, nice. Angel warrior, nice. 1/1. Oof. Alright, when Amara Captain enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 +1/+1 counter on it for each creature in your party. So she could be up to a 5/5. She's going to be at least a 2/2 because she herself is an angel. Pretty terrible card, really. Not enough of a upside, really. Vigilance is nice, flying's nice, but she's probably only going to be a 2/2 or a 3/3 or 4/4 and rarely a 5/5, which still isn't even that great, but it is good. A 4 mana 5/5 flying vigilance is super nice, don't get me wrong, but it's probably not going to happen easily as people are going to be removing your creatures and, you know, you're going to have some interaction. So I would say this is not the greatest card for constructed. Alright, we got Taunting Arbor Mage, a 3 mana green elf wizard, 2/3. And you can kick it. Looks like it only does something if it's kicked, otherwise it's just a plain old 2/3 for 3, which is terrible. So you basically only gonna want to play this if you're intending on kicking it, or it's 5 casting cost, or maybe you really need a wizard. When Taunting Arbor Mage enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, all creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. So it's a 5 mana lure for 1 turn. That is gives you a 2/3 elf wizard. Not terribly great. could come in handy, but yeah, just not terribly great. All right, and now we have something I can, without even reading it, I can tell you is probably already going to be broken and busted. Archpriest of Ionia, 1 white mana for a star 2. Okay, I don't even know what the star is, but it's probably busted. Archpriest of Ionia's power is equal to the number of creatures in your party. Okay, so it's only a 1/2 for 1, which is decent to start. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have a full party, target creature gets +1/+1 and flying till the end of turn. Not too bad. You get that full party, you get a big flyer, which could target itself and become a something 3 flyer. Well, I guess if you have a full party, this Archpriest of Ionia is going to be what let's see, a 5/3 flying. A 5/3 flying for 1 white mana is nothing to scoff at. Yeah, this card, I don't want to say it's busted, but it's clearly very good. We're seeing a lot of really strong white 1-drops. I guess that's nothing new. That's kind of, it's almost like white's motif is just really strong 1-drops. Alright, we have something I can't read here. It's just a common elemental 0/1 landfall +2/2 and haste until the end of turn, I think. Not too bad, not too great either. Skyclave Apparition, a 3 mana 2/2 for spirit. And when it enters the battlefield, exile a non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. Okay, kind of cool. And when it leaves play, they get an XX illusion, where X is that converted mana cost of the exiled card. Okay, so it does allow you to exile something when it comes in, but if they kill it, they do get an illusion. Not too bad. Not super great either, though. It's nice that it's permanent, so you can get rid of enchantments, artifacts, and they get an illusion. It's not a flying illusion, though. So yeah, I think the Skyclave Apparition is decent removal, being that it can get pretty much any permanent as long as it's 4 or less casting cost. And that's what we got for the September 1st spoilers. Look forward to the next video. I'll probably do it for the September 2nd. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to do all the things that every YouTuber in existence has ever asked you to do. I'll see you in the next video. Matt from MTG Ownage out.